Lexie, this is a 20-minute podcast, strictly, which never happens. The last two have been 38 minutes, so see what happens here, shall we?
Okay, brilliant.
Lexie, I feel like the best place to start would literally just be, who is Lexie Douglas? And I know that you have an incredible story. I've not actually heard it all the way through. I've read a lot about it. You've come a long way. Tell us who are you? And
you're really bigging me up here. I love it.
Rightly so.
Thanks, Rach. Well, I'm 30. God, I feel like I'm on a dating show.
That's a great start.
I was born in London, moved to Surrey, and then back in London. So I've done a bit of a 360. I think the main thing probably to get me to like starting Bowtree, my nutrition company, was that I really love food. Probably a bit more than, as you both are nodding, you agree too. Yeah, and I think the problem wasn't that I ate badly because, you know, my family are pretty good cooks. It was just I ate too much of it. I put too much emotion on it, and it was just my comfort for anything. So really young, I started dieting. My mum thought she was being super helpful, and I feel really bad for saying this. I hope she won't listen and feel awful. But when I was about 16, I was probably just a little bit overweight. I mean, nothing that I would be problematic, really. And she was like, oh, why don't we do a Slimming World or Weight Watchers thing together? Like, we'll do it together, really inclusive, which I totally see where she was going with this, but probably wasn't the best idea of getting a 16-year-old straight into losing weight. But the intentions were very good behind it. So I was really into exercise, as in school sports, to netball team captain, go me. And so it wasn't anything to do with activity, it was just the amount of food. So I tried Weight Watchers, and of course you lose weight when you do any of these diets. And then I got a boyfriend, and then I put on weight, and then I was single and I lost weight. And, you know, and it was just a cycle. I tried Slimming World, I tried juices. I even tried the Kellogg's diet. That was probably the most extreme diet I tried.
What was that?
Seriously?
No, it actually was a thing. So you ate Kellogg's for 3 meals a day.
No.
It could be worse. I genuinely think it could be worse.
Mean,
that's not the worst I've heard.
I mean, if it was like Cocoa Pops, it might be a little bit better.
Oh, yeah. It was like a crappy one.
Yeah, it was literally like basic Kellogg's. So of course, no relationship with food. And then I didn't really learn anything. By this time, I'm out of school, so I don't really exercise anymore. And so, yeah, I'm just going on and off diets. And then I got what I thought was heavy when I was 16 was actually not heavy at all when I put on another 3 stone and ended up being about 15 stone. I think 15.2 I think was my highest ever weight, which as someone who's 5'7" was, I think I was just on the obese on the BMI, just creeped into that. So I decided really unhealthily when lockdown happened that I would eat 1,200 calories and I would do 2 exercises a day with no rest for 3 months. And I lost loads of weight, funnily enough, but obviously it's not sustainable. I injured myself and then was out of action for exercise, because actually at this point now I'm adoring exercise. I've got into a really good routine, obviously just went a bit too OTT. And so, yeah, I did all of that and then was like, okay, there must be a better way of doing this. I literally cannot live off 1,200 calories. And it's pretty easy when there's no takeaways. You can't see your friends and you're just stuck at home. But when things started to open, I realised that I couldn't continue. So I started I went on the BTN 1-year nutrition course and realised that I could have eaten like 600 calories more this whole entire time and still lost weight in a really lovely way. So I kind of finished off the weight loss in a really healthy way, got a lot better with exercise, much more manageable, ditched the 2 exercises a day and had rest days, which was a nice realisation. And and then I finished that and then started Bowtree.
Amazing. Bowtree was just over a year ago, right? Was it September last year?
Yeah, November last year I started when I finished my exams. Okay. So yeah, that was kind of the long and short of it.
What's the meaning behind the name?
Because
I know Jeff asked Leonie that the other day, and that came up with something like what she said in response to that was like the most like the sickest thing that was said in the whole podcast. Like it was so like thought-provoking. No pressure that yours has to be equally as deep.
No.
Yeah.
It's
what's the reason?
It's actually really embarrassing, and I'm going to look like a psycho that doesn't have children yet.
Oh no.
But I'm going to be honest. You said let's be honest. So basically, I don't know about you, Rach. Well, Jeff, I'm excluding you. I can include you in this too. Ever since I had a mobile with a notepad thing in it, I always had my kids' names on it that I wanted to call my children.
Okay.
And I had Bodhi on it as a boy. Although I hear it's the in fashion for girls' names now, but irrelevant. And so I was like looking through my list of names, and Bodhi came up, and I was like, do you know what? That's actually really cool. Like, it's quite hip and it's very like calm and chilled. I was like, let me look into what Bodhi means. I don't know why, I just liked it. And then when you Google it, it comes into, there's something called a Bodhi tree. It's got really cute like heart leaves, and it's all about a journey, and it's got a whole spiritual meaning behind it as well. And I just thought it was so cool. I mean, the hearts on the leaves really did help push that one. So yeah, and then I was like, Bow Tree's cute, and I was like, do I stick to Bow Tree? And then I was like, oh, no one's gonna know what I am. Like, there's literally a company called Bow Tree, and they do pepper, like sell pepper. So I was like, okay, let's be Bow Tree Nutrition. And yeah, so that's how that came about, looking at my baby names.
I would never have guessed that.
Well, my boyfriend's told me I'm not allowed Bodhi as a baby name, so it's definitely not happening.
Love it.
Amazing, that's so cool. And when that came about, so that was a year ago.
Yeah.
When did you come on board with Burn It? Was it just after that?
No, so I can't remember. It must have been earlier this year. I'm gonna like say March, but I'm really stabbing the dark. I can't quite remember. I basically emailed a part of like really tiny intimate gyms. I didn't want to work with any of the like big gyms. And obviously I do nutrition for everything, but obviously with my story, weight loss is my key thing. I do work with kind of people that want other goals, but that really is my focus. And so I emailed a few different gyms and was like, I mainly want to do weight loss. It's a massive thing. And yeah, Gareth replied, which was great.
Gareth.
Yeah, bless Gareth.
He's living it up in LA at the moment.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
He's going to get blocked on Instagram.
I miss him a lot, actually. I hope he listens to this.
Oh, me too.
I'm missing him. I'm looking forward to Lexie when he comes back. So, and you've clearly had such an amazing impact on the community. You know, from what we hear, I work with the guys in Intensity, and they have nothing but good things to say about you. Like, what did your philosophy on? We'll come to that a little bit later with your philosophy on nutrition. But has anything changed? Has your path changed since coming with Burn It? Have you changed your approach to nutrition and how you coach it?
I wouldn't say I've changed the way I kind of teach nutrition. I don't know if that's the right word. Coach, probably a better way. That hasn't changed so much. I mean, I'm now so much more patient than I was a year ago, that's for sure. Just in general, I mean, I'm like a counsellor and a mother and sometimes a wife all rolled into one. So that I definitely learned a few things about myself. But you guys have made me want to become a PT, which I wasn't. I was kind of verging on starting it when I started up with you guys. And I'm now on the path to doing that. So yeah, that's probably the biggest change with me since coming on board.
Fantastic.
Great.
And Rachel, you've spent plenty of time with Lexie in person.
Not enough. Not enough.
You guys hit it off. And that's something you kind of, do you rant about that between kind of each other at the studio? Like,
oh my God, nutrition? Yes. Yeah, I think it's so great from a Burn It point of view to have a nutritionist on board, because I think it's great that Lexie feels like she's got, you said more patient?
Yeah, more patient.
Yeah, I feel like I get less patient, and then someone like Lexie comes along and I'm like, okay, cool, because so much of a lot of people's fitness journey, particularly weight loss, but you know, anything, whether it's wanting to run a marathon and fueling your body properly, whether it's someone who's underweight and wants to put on weight, all of it is centered around nutrition. And as much as someone who likes fitness, and that is my job, I 100% believe that you can have sort of a healthy lifestyle and a healthy body without really any formal exercise as such. Like, I think if you do enough steps a day and you're not completely sedentary, but your nutrition is on point and really balanced, then you can still have a really, really, really healthy life. Whereas I do feel if your exercise is on point but your nutrition isn't, then you can train amazingly like 7 days a week, but if you haven't got that nutrition right, whether it's that you're not eating the right food, you're under eating, you're overeating, you're not eating the right thing for your sport or your exercise that you're doing, the progress only goes so far. So I think from a Burn It point of view, in my opinion, like every single client should be working with Lexie. I don't know whether that's a dangerous thing to say. I don't know how much capacity she has. But like, I sit with people in a fitness review and there's only so much I can do, because you're dealing with lifetime habits that are actually very simple to break down, but I don't have the time to do it in fitness reviews, and I'm there to kind of take care of people's training. So I guess where I sometimes get less patient is that I know nutrition is such a massive, massive thing, and I think the people who are most successful are in the long term going to be those clients that are working with Lexie or with another nutritionist long term, because it is so, so, so important. And then obviously on a personal level, I like Lexie as a person, which it sounds like a silly thing to say, but I don't like many people. So when I met her and we hit it off straight away, that was a nice surprise. Yeah. And also we both have cats. And I only realised this fairly recently. So we bond on that alongside with Leonie as well. We have this little group chat and we basically talk about cats. Yeah. And not really anything diet or exercise related. So yeah, Lexie's great, but honestly, like the service that she offers from a Burn It point of view, like every single client we work with, because frankly, as trainers, we don't have the time or capacity to do that. So as much as the exercise, like absolutely come to Burn It, do the training, like do everything that you can possibly have time for and afford and all the rest of it. But if there was a service, if you're very overweight particularly, and you really need to lose about like a hefty amount of weight and you want to have fun doing it, just go to Lexie.
Just come to
someone,
me.
or sort out your nutrition basically. And don't think that if you've had a lifetime of being overweight, even just a little bit overweight, that you can do it yourself. Because if you could, you would have been successful by now.
Yeah, do you know what? You hit the nail on the head. Yeah. Literally hit the nail on the head. Because especially me at the beginning, I was like, I remember like back in the day, I'd be like, oh, I'll go gym 6 times. Oh, why am I not losing weight? Like nothing's happening, but I'm exercising. My watch is telling me I've burnt 500 calories, which I mean, as we know, these watches and these digital scales are all highly, highly inaccurate. But was I doing any steps? Like, I cannot tell you how much I bang on to my clients. Just walk. Like, if you enjoy exercise, like I would push everyone to do something mental health wise, nothing to do with losing weight. Like if you're trying to exercise to lose weight, don't bother. You need to do it because you love it, you want to get strong, all of that jazz. But yeah, nutrition, unfortunately, which is kind of the hardest part because there's so much emotion behind it, which is why it's not so like, yes, I can tell you eat this many calories, you're going to lose weight, easy peasy, but it's not, I can tell you to eat all the right food, but essentially until you've changed your mindset around food and actually how you process your emotions, which of course a lot of the time has an impact on food, you're not really gonna succeed. You might be able short term, but until, like you said, you've worked on your habits, your routine, you're back to square one if nothing's really changed.
Mindset with nutrition
100%.
is everything. Like okay, I'm a bit weird, but when I'm in the car, I often just like start talking to myself. I rant a little bit. It's typically about nutrition. And the other day I was just thinking, what you just said, mindset, right? And like Rachel said with Burn It, we literally give our members the roadmap to success when it comes to, you know, being easily able to book in for sessions and they just need to show up and we show them what to do and we scale up and down. And they go away happy and stretched and ready to go for the next session, right? We give them the roadmap, right? But with nutrition is the foundation of everyone's lives, and we are what we eat. Everything on top of it, exercise and recovery and sleep and mobility and sports and learning new skills, is all there. Nutrition, if that is slightly out or completely off, everything else it crumbles above, right? You said with the mindset thing with nutrition, I find is you can give someone the roadmap. You can give them exactly what they need to do and when they need to eat it and how much and with whom, because that always makes a difference. And then they come back and they're like, I didn't get the results. Yeah. Did you truly put that roadmap into play? No, I didn't. Why didn't you? And they never know how to answer it because they're blaming it on other things. And this is the rant I had the other day. They are simply not ready to do it yet.
And the thing
they're
is,
just not ready.
And that's fine. Like, it's fine not to be ready. I mean, I think how many times I went on a diet, Rach, you've done the same thing. Like, you can't make someone ready, and there's nothing wrong with not being ready. You will get there at some point, whether it be you see a picture that you don't like, or you've stepped on the scales and actually this is not, like, you can't do this anymore, or you can't play around with your kids without being out of breath. Like, there may be so many reasons why, but yeah. And the thing is, I think the other thing is it's consistency. So I had this misconception that, on Monday to Friday I'm going to be perfect. Oh, well, I've been perfect all week, so I can do whatever I want at the weekends. But actually, it is going to have an effect on the rest of your week. And I don't want to be one of those people even, that says, a few meals will ruin your whole week. But if your meals are that big, unfortunately, it will. And I'm not just talking about one takeaway a week. I'm talking about when you have all the alcohol, all the takeaways, all the puddings, all the sweets, a mass day of overeating. So I kind of think, right, okay, that 80-20, I never really got that before, but it's so important because, and I say this to all my clients, yes, I'm going to give you a protein goal. I really want you to hit your protein, and it's going to keep you full and it's going to do wonders for you in the gym. But if you want biscuits at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's fine. But why don't we look at, instead of a chocolate digestive biscuit, why don't we look at a rich tea? Like, we don't need to take the fun out of eating. We don't need to ruin all your food. But let's just lower the calories. You can still eat the things you love, but let's take away the oil. You've saved 300 calories on your favourite dinner. Like, it's just little swaps. I think that's my favourite thing I tell my clients. Just make little swaps, and it makes so much difference.
I love that. I feel like with nutrition...
Before we go further, though, I do just want to caveat all of this with that. Generally, I think the position we're speaking from is like... moderate disordered eating. So what I think none of us with what we're saying, because there'll be stuff we disagree on, there'll be stuff we all agree on, there'll be things we get passionate about, and I just want to make it really clear that there are some cases and scenarios where disordered eating is out of control, and maybe that has led to kind of actual diagnosable eating disorders such as bulimia, anorexia, binge eating disorder. In those cases where like a negative relationship with food has a destructive impact really severely on your day-to-day life, or is really impacting your health negatively, what we're doing is we're not talking about those scenarios particularly, because none of us are qualified. Right. I would hope to be in the future, which is why I've kind of gone into psychology. But I guess I don't want anyone to listen to this and thinking that we're speaking directly into something like anorexia, bulimia, severe binge eating. I do have experience of frankly undiagnosed binge eating disorder that I've diagnosed myself with, because that's what it is. But I guess we're talking from a place of the general average person who's struggling with nutrition, as opposed to someone who needs kind of psychological intervention, just to make that clear.
Yeah, I'm not. But
we all need therapy, don't we, frankly?
Literally, so I've got a cat. But no, I think... Yeah, for anyone who may be having kind of disordered eating is one thing, but if we're going into eating disorders, that's not something I would feel comfortable or actually insured, like, to put a point to it. Like, I'm not insured to help. Yeah. So that's definitely something I'd refer out. But for the, like you said, the normal classic person who just wants to lose a little bit of weight to be healthy, most people who have dieted have a disordered way of eating, and it does take time to rectify that. And it does take time. I think a lot of my clients are like, Lex, but you've got a great relationship with food. And I can probably say it probably took until about 6 months ago. Like, and that wasn't my lowest weight. I've got to a lowest weight. I've put on a stone, and I'm kind of about a stone back above my kind of lowest weight. But it's great because I have much better relationship with food. And now if I try and lose a bit of weight, it's so healthy. It's very slow. I know what I'm doing, and it's not, there's no restrictions. So
I think
working on the relationship with food and exercise come kind of go hand in hand.
But I think though, despite what I've just said though, like it is kind of hard to differentiate between what is just a little bit of disordered eating and what is like a more serious issue, because as far as I'm concerned, like every single person I know, whether that's in kind of the fitness industry or something else, has a disordered eating style. Like this, our society and culture, and I'm talking very much you know, I've only experienced this culture as like a white woman living in England for, you know, I'm not speaking on behalf of kind of any other culture or country or whatever, but you look around and I can't think of like one person I know that like has a really genuinely healthy relationship with food. And, you know, we can say that ours is quite good now because we think of where we were. But, you know, whether it's like an obsession with tracking calories, whether it's that tendency to always want to slightly under-eat and be at this certain weight that is probably slightly too light, and anything else you see on the scale you get upset by, or whether, you know, like there's such easy access to junk food, but then we also label things as good and bad, which I also don't think is helpful. So it's really hard actually when I see people sitting in front of me for these brief kind of 15-minute periods. I'm like, do you need psychological intervention or not? Because this is like everyone, myself included, like this is, I don't want to swear, let me just
I can put it explicit on it.
This is this is an effed up situation for real. And for me, like, it's really funny what you said about your mum, because for me, and I don't mind if my mum hears this, like, greatest person in the world, best parent, phenomenal, fantastic. She's also the person in my life that's fucked me up the most, particularly when it comes to food. And I won't delve into her story. She's very open, so she wouldn't mind me sharing anyway. I won't go into it. But that kind of, and I think women often do that. And when I'm not meaning to be sexist, but I have so many women in particular that sit in front of me, and they're a woman who's like a size 8 to 10, often not more than about 60, 65 kilos, objectively stunning, great figure. I know, whatever, what does that even mean? But like objectively hot, like great body, whatever. And then it's like, they look at the scale at like a weight that's like completely healthy, probably about 15 kilos lighter than what I weigh. And they look and they're like, oh, it's like this look of disgust. And I'm like, sometimes it has to come down to the point of, do you have kids? And in particular, do you have daughters? This has to stop, because we're breeding generations of women in particular that are not happy to weigh any more than 60 kilos, who are not necessarily pursuing healthy nutrition and fitness to feel empowered and fit and strong, but to be skinny and take up less space. And I do think things are changing with how popular kind of strength training's becoming, and, you know, looking at female CrossFit athletes as like, you know, inspiring and stuff like that. But there's still this thing I see in women in particular who have had children that just despise their bodies and want to eat less and be lighter. And I'm like, that's really, really sad. And if that doesn't change in some way, then we're just going to breed a whole nother generation of females who are doing the same thing. And men, don't get me wrong, I'm sure have also struggle, but as a woman, I can only speak from that point of view of how I've been brought up and what I see, particularly women who have had kids, just, you know, they weigh like 60, 65 kilos, and it's this disgust. And I'm like, you've literally had 3 babies pop out your vagina, and for some reason you think your body's awful. How? Why? I don't know.
It's
Nina always tells me I'm ignorant because I've never had kids, and she's like, you don't get it. And I'm like, I know, but this still ain't right. We can't have this where women are doing, like, growing humans, giving birth to humans, and then hating themselves because they're like 3 or 4 kilos than they were at their lightest. Like, stop.
It's really hard because I think whenever you're trying to lose fat, you focus on a number. So it's not usually, it's like, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to try and get back into my size 10 jeans. I say that's a minority of people. And I always, when I do goals for my clients, I'm like, okay, cool, you want to hit 11 stone, whatever. Okay, but let's dive into that more, because I remember even when I had a coach and I was trying to get to my lowest weight, and I was 2 pounds off. And bear in mind, my routine with exercise was good. My food relationship with food was much better. But because I couldn't get down those 2 pounds, all those bad habits, over-exercising, kind of making sure I was eating really small amounts, started creeping back in. So it's not one of those things, once your relationship with food and exercise is great, it's like that forever. That, like you said, you'll have kids and it changes again. So I think we've got to be kind in ourselves to think, you know, it is a journey of up and down, especially life happens. Like, we can't expect to always fit into our size 16 bodies. I mean, for me, not so much, but my 28-year-old body was probably my slimmest. And, you know, you kind of got to ride that wave, as cringe as that sounds. But yeah, I think putting a number on the scale as an end goal is so dangerous. It's a good guide, but I think you've got to put smaller goals in place and other things that are not physical as goals, because it's sad.
It's also really relative though, isn't it? Because at my heaviest, if someone would have told me that, you know, one day you're going to be like 75, 80 kg, I'd be like, oh my God, that's so small. Like, I'd never get there. That's crazy. And then probably at my leanest but healthiest, probably like between like 68 and 72 kilos was like really healthy. Like, I was healthy. But then when I had my back injury and I was on hardcore pain medication, I then went down to about 64 kg,
Jeez.
which is the weight that most of our clients are like, I'm so fat. That I looked for me personally, I wasn't well. And, you know, back when I was really big, I would have been like, oh my God, one day you'll be 64 kilos. Like, you're going to love that. That's incredible. And that was the most unhealthy. And it was literally because I wasn't eating, because I was so unwell. I wasn't even trying to get skinny. And then back then, if you'd have told me that now I'd be like between 75 and 80 kilos, I'd have been like, oh my God, that's massive. And I feel great. Like, because I'm accepting my body and all, like, everything that it goes through, absolutely everything. Like, it doesn't matter the weight. Like, it really doesn't, because for some people 80 kilos is like absolutely tiny. They would only dream of being that. For other people, that's like, because I always try and make people feel awkward in fitness reviews, and I'm like, you're crying that you're 65 kilos. I'm nearly 80 kilos. How does that make you feel? And they're like, no, it's not. You look so good. I'm like, no, you probably think I'm huge. And then that kind of like shakes people up, because they're like, I don't actually think she's huge. Like, she looks fine. But it's so relative. And you just, even if you're literally like 25 stone overweight, you can actually still love yourself and accept yourself at that weight. So like, I am very much for body positivity and acceptance at all stages. Don't get me wrong, if you're 25 stone overweight, let's work on getting that weight down quite quickly for health reasons. But I think you can still absolutely fully love and accept yourself where you are and still want to change.
Yeah, and the thing is, confidence. I mean, me at my lightest, I was still crying in front of the mirror because all my clothes looked shit. Like, there were days when I was 15 stone and I thought I looked bloody amazing. Don't get me wrong, my confidence.
Yeah, you probably did.
Yeah,
like,
but confidence.
Do you know what I mean?
My confidence, until you work on yourself, confidence is irrelevant, because if it's not there, it's not there. And you can be skinny, strong, fat, overweight, obese, and you still won't have confidence. But if you do have confidence, you're going to flourish at whatever weight you are. Yes, for health reasons, it would be good to get that within a healthy range. But also, there's more to life than just the number of scales,
but
as you said.
But for women as well, and sorry, Jeff, we'll get your male perspective in a second when we finish this.
Is Jeff still on this podcast?
But as a woman, like, so often, if say I'm at about 70 kg, for example, for me, I look pretty lean then. Like, you can see muscle, you can see definition. Like, I look pretty lean. At 70 kg, some people will be a 14, 16. At 70 kg, I'm about like a size 10. And you can, but all that has to happen is the time of the month changes. I come on my period, my IBS is flaring up. And what was a lean body one day, when I say overnight, I'm not joking. Overnight, there's not one bit of definition and my body has swollen up. So this is why, like, don't even worry about the mirror, because there are some days, even the weight I am now, I'm about 78 kilos. I look in the mirror some days, I have abs. The next day, I haven't shat. And I'm like, I look 6 months pregnant. That's the life of a woman, and that's the life of having IBS. Like, so
no, it's true. And especially women, our hormones. I mean, you eat a carby meal, a salty meal, you take antibiotics, you have alcohol, like, and this goes, majority of them work for men too. You're going to be heavier on the scale, so you just cannot use that as the main measure of success. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I'm the same. I mean, we're pretty similar weights at the moment, but our bodies look totally different. You do so much more weight training than me. You look so much stronger than me. I look smaller than you, but we are basically the same weight. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to tell you about my relationship.
Oh, go on, Jeff.
And honestly, right.
Jeff, come on, bring it in for the men. I feel sorry for Jeff. He's just sitting here with 2 women, like powerful women.
You are powerful. I'll give you that. But let me tell you, this is the foundation of my story and why I became a coach. And honestly, it's been so long since I've considered this that I completely blanked. I completely forgot about it until I listened to that. So when I was 15, that was when I started training. And the reason I started training was simply because my younger brother, who was a year and a half younger than me, started training himself. And I was just like, he ain't gonna get in shape. I need to do this too, right? So I started going to the gym and quite quickly started to see some results based on, just the push and the pull, barely squatting, the upper body. I was going in and doing kind of German volume training and things like that. And then when I was about 17 then, I spent a lot of time, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. He's not going to be listening to this, but he was a major influence on how I trained.
Gareth?
No.
Are we talking like big a celeb?
No, a family member.
Oh,
right,
member. Okay, fine, yeah.
So we spent all of our time together, like in and out the gym, and we used to go to the gym every day and do the same routine over and over again. And then I started to listen to what he had to say when it came to nutrition, and I was doing my nutrition wrong at the time. So basically I listened to exactly what he said, and it was, you need to cut out carbs entirely. And so I did. I cut carbs completely out of my life. So 3 months later, basically the shit hit the fan. I was sat around the dinner table with my, I feel so sad saying this, but my little sister, my brother and sister, and she's 5 years younger, and she was probably, she was 12 at the time. So we're having baked potato, or she's got baked potato. My dad's put baked potato on my plate. We're eating our veggies, our chicken. So I said to Hannah, I literally grabbed the potato and I put it on the side. I said, you don't want to be eating that. I said, you don't want to be eating carbs. And I went through this whole spiel. And my dad came in and gave me the biggest bollocking of my life.
Yeah, I would have done too.
I love your passion, Jeff. I love it.
I felt it. I felt his wrath, honestly, for the first time. And I kept on that way, and no carbs, just all proteins. Even when it came to alcohol, it was literally just like vodka only. And it came to a point where I was so just depleted. I remember we went to the gym one morning. We were there for 3 hours. It was ridiculous. Sauna, steam room. Afternoon, it was a boiling hot day. We went out for a night out. I think Gareth there. I think Gareth may have been there that day. And I had a bottle of vodka, and I was just drinking pretty much vodka neat.
Oh God!
And
as you do.
Smashed after about half an hour, completely and utterly smashed. Long story short, I'm basically passed out, being dragged home. I'm on the driveway telling my dad to F off. He's trying to get coffee down me, get me to bed. There's kids in the street playing on their bikes. It was an absolute embarrassment. It was a nightmare. And then the next day I woke up and I just felt shame, and it was because of the way my lifestyle had just completely taken over. My nutrition and my approach and my relationship with food had completely and utterly taken over. It was the worst. It was my rock bottom. And from there then, that was when I started to properly learn and properly listen to people who I had basically ignored. Like my old boss was always trying to coach me and talk me out of it and try to help me, understand balance and things like that. So I finally gave myself permission to listen to these people who knew more than me and apply it, and gradually then that was when I started to get a bit of a spark, and then came into becoming a coach and then a nutritionist later on. And now I mean, I've been plant-based for 2 years. It's been the healthiest 2 years of my life. My relationship with food is so much better. I don't beat myself up if I have a bad day. My general philosophy is like good, better, best. So I have a best case scenario for my day. This is what I want my nutrition to look like to support my lifestyle. If I can't achieve that, there's a better than good. And if I can't achieve that, there's a good. There is always a good choice. And if you fall short of that, who gives a shit? Whatever. Like, you can always make up for it. And it's so easy to just like write off the entire day. And I think at that point, that in kind of, I guess, recent months, years, is something that I've had to learn. Your relationship doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can find that balance regardless. And yeah, it took me a long time to realize that. Yeah. And that's my story. I don't think I've ever shared that with you. I didn't know that about you. That's sick. Yeah. That's so good.
I think though, as much as like, you know, you can look, I'm not saying you still feel deep shame and you need therapy or anything for that, but I think what you're speaking of is just one of those myths and those trends at the time that were just so prevalent. And there's been so many like that, where it's like people just assume like cutting out carbs is the thing to do. Like that, we're kind of laughing about it now because we're all a lot more educated, but that's the thing that people are making money off of, that whole thing of like essentially it's the keto diet. Like people making money off of that thing of like, no one should ever eat carbs. Like carbs should make up at least 50% of what you're eating. And, you know, carbs are in vegetables anyway. So the whole thing doesn't like really mean anything. Then you have cut out all sugar. Then it's don't even eat fruit because it's sugar. Then it's cut out all fat and only, and so I think this is why it's so important to either go and do your own education, or if you don't have the time and resources because you're busy, that's absolutely fine. Go to a specialist, like go to a nutritionist who has this knowledge. And a step further, when you go to that nutritionist, believe what they say or stop paying them the money. Yeah. Because I still sit with people, and okay, I'm not a qualified nutritionist, but when people say, oh, okay, so I'm going to do like a low carb diet. And first of all, I just check, you know, have you been advised by the doctor to do that? Because there are a few medical conditions where that might be beneficial. So that's like 0.1% of people, let's face it. And then what it is they're like, oh no, I thought like that's just the best thing to do if I want to lose weight. Now, don't get me wrong. All of our bodies thrive on kind of different macros kind of. So I know for me, actually, my body does really thrive on lower carbs and higher fat with protein. That I still eat a good amount of carbs though. Like it's not that I cut them out at all. But people have this view, and then you're kind of saying, oh no, like that's not particularly accurate, and actually vegetables have carbs in them anyway, and blah, blah, blah. People are like, are you sure? Really? Now that's already insulting for me as someone that does have some nutritional experience, both from my PT qualification and my experience. But if you're actually going to a nutritionist and then they're just kind of trying to dispel some of these myths and you're not believing them, and you still want to stick to your 500 calories a day, or you're only eating vegetables and chicken, like, then just stop paying that money, because you're kind of wasting your time. And it goes back to the thing you were saying, Jeff, about you're not ready. Because surely if you're putting money in someone's pocket, have some trust in them. And if you don't want to trust a nutritionist, do your own research. Yeah, and because it's very easily accessible. And I know, Lexie, you've probably had situations like that.
Well, yeah, I've not taken clients on because they've said, I'm going to stop eating sugar. And I'm like, well, that's not the approach. Unless it's for a medical reason. Obviously, like you said, I'm not talking about any medical reasons. If you have medical reasons, you're not relevant right now. But no, I had a...
We don't care about you.
You're not... Yeah, right now, I'm not talking about you. But yeah, I had a client and she was like, I only lose weight when I don't eat sugar. And I was like, okay, why do you think that? Like, come on, let's ask some questions to go through that. Ended up being that they were in a calorie deficit because they had stopped eating sugar because they cut out a fruit. Of course, same with no carbs, same with if you cut anything out. But yeah, I didn't take them on as a client because she wasn't prepared to listen, and I don't want someone to be my client and go tell their friends that they're doing no sugar, because it gives me a bad name. I don't want anyone to think that I'm a coach that makes you restrict on anything. Like I can't remember which one of you said earlier, but it's a balance. Like it really is a balance. And I just think any cutting out of anything, because even the carbs, like if you're a bikini model or, you know, you've got a competition, there are people that need to cut down on the carbs hugely. They're on super unhealthy, low calorie diets. And the thing is, low calorie diets for a short amount of time is fine. Like it's not going to harm you. These people are professionals. They're by professional coaching. It's fine. But I don't have clients who are into bodybuilding, and majority of my clients are mums or, you know, 20, 30 something year olds that are just a stone or two overweight and want to become healthy. So I think for the majority of people, just need to have a healthy diet. And it's just trying to figure out what that looks like for you as an individual.
Lexie, like 100%. Balance, I see that in doing some research and you know, basically just going to your Instagram and just following that for a long time now, really. I think one thing that I love about your style and your approach is people's Instagram often is a highlight reel. Yours, you're never, I feel like you're never afraid to just be friggin' honest. Like, you share what you eat. If you're having a bad day, you share what you eat. It might be completely, you know, like against what you're taught as a nutritionist, what you typically, but you're completely and utterly open about it. And what I see in that is there is balance, right? You're living, you're enjoying, you've just been
the thing is, you have to, otherwise life isn't fun. Of wine and just, exactly, just living life, but able to keep that balance and able to still be super, super healthy and do all the things you can do. That's one thing I really, really like about you. Is that do you teach that with like people openly, especially with Burn It? Is it like how would you kind of coach someone on how to be balanced? Yeah, it's really hard, and it's a bit of a contradiction on what I think, but calorie counting, again, it's not for everyone, but for people who have no knowledge of what they're eating, how many calories are in things, it's really hard to teach them balance until they have a basic understanding of what they're eating. So I have some clients that want to do it for a few months, cool. I have some clients after a week like, kill my soul, it's awful. But even a week, okay, cool, you're having far too much oil, or do you know what, actually, you're eating far too much fruit. Let's not put fruit as like the god of all foods. It has calories and it's high in sugar. Now, I would rather you eat a pile of grapes than a pile of chocolate. Let's not get this twisted. But all these things have values and energy values. So I think getting a good understanding of where you could improve is really helpful. And then it is finding that balance. I, for instance, love a glass of wine at the weekend, probably a bottle, I'm not going to lie. But I look at my calories for the week and I might reduce them a little bit so that I can have a nice meal and enjoy without calorie counting at the weekends. You know, it's finding what works for you. Like I said, what works for us three will be totally different. So, and yeah, I'm really into sweets and chocolate, and it's just finding a way of putting them in without kind of ruining anything else. So yeah, balance is a hard one, but I think when you can understand how you eat, it's really helpful.
Right, what's your take on that? Go on, you go. Because I know that you, like you said at the start, it's like you when you're not well, typically you'll just completely go off track with your nutrition, but it's okay, right?
Yeah. I think absolutely in the beginning, track your calories. And I know I've almost at points sometimes excused people out of that. So often when someone sits in front of me and they do have the goal of like, oh, I need to lose 10 kilograms, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They've never tracked their calories before. I often say, particularly if they're a busy working parent or something like that, I'm like, oh, counting calories probably won't suit your lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, just acknowledge what I just try and get people to the end point straight away. So I'm like, if they tell me they drink alcohol, I'm like, it's probably too much alcohol, just cut that down. And to some extent, that's true. Like if you're drinking 7 nights a week, frankly, don't count your calories, because even just reducing that like 5 nights a week instead of 7, you will actually lose weight. So in some senses, you don't need to track your calories, but for long-term success, I 100% believe that you need to go through that period. And for most people, it's going to be several months, if not several years. And I remember when I first was going through all the crash dieting and stuff like that when I was a teenager, counting calories wasn't really a thing that people did. Like MyFitnessPal wasn't really a thing. And for me, that was the best tool ever, because when I realised that actually, because I was really kind of taking my exercise seriously, actually, I could probably still lose weight and eat about 2,500 calories a day. To understand that and be like, then to track a McDonald's or something like that and actually understand what the calories were, like that means now that I'm trying to get a little bit lighter because I'm getting into more like endurance stuff, and I'd rather be close to 70 kilos than 80 just because of my ankles and knees and whatever, and because I'm such a novice, I would prefer just to go into it being a bit lighter.
You're going to be our next marathon runner. What are you talking about?
I said to someone at my other job the other day, I'm going to do an Ironman by the time I'm 40.
Love it.
Which I know is 10 years away, but mate, like if I get there, it'll be a freaking miracle. But that's going to happen. And people might think, oh, if a 16-year-old counting calories, is that really negative? No, because tracking calories is not about restriction. It's just about educating yourself about what is in what food. Because if you're making that smoothie in the morning that you think is so healthy because it's avocado and it's oats and it's a banana, all of those foods are phenomenal. They're fantastic. But before you know it, you've got a smoothie that is 1,000 calories plus, when a pan of chocolate that you probably wanted to have instead is about 400 calories. Now, frankly, is the first option is it more nutritious? Yes. Should you be eating pastry every day? No. But when I was tracking calories and I was probably at my healthiest, I was eating pastry every day for breakfast. My other meals were healthy, but for me, like, whereas I have so many people that are like, I don't know why I'm like 20 kilos overweight because I eat so healthily, and they do. Yeah. But because you don't have any awareness of what's in anything, you're making this amazing nutritious breakfast that is almost your entire calorie amount for the whole day. So actually, and for people who are very overweight or underweight, and their bad relationship with food is affecting their life on a daily basis, like, and I'm always like, oh, you've got kids, maybe it's not feasible for you to do it. Don't you want something better for yourself? And okay, yeah, when you make a home cooked food, is it going to be effort to measure out your onions and measure out your portion of this and that and the other? Yes, it will be effort, but nothing like worth having comes easy. It really doesn't. And do you not want better for your kids, your family, yourself? Like, isn't it harder being 20, 30, 40 stone? That would be excessive. Isn't it harder being like 20 kilos overweight? Isn't that probably harder for your kids because you can't run around? Isn't that harder for your partner because your sex life's probably shit? Like, there are so many harder things than tracking calories. And if you've got to track calories for a couple of months, even if that means like making dinner turns into something that's half an hour longer than it should be, get over it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
And I'm going to stop giving people the easy way out and saying, you don't have to track your calories. Do it until you've educated yourself. Just do it.
Exactly. I love that. I think tracking calories is a starter point for someone coming in, and knowing that we need to make people aware that nutrition is a friggin' minefield, especially now. I remember once upon a time, a simple prescription for good nutrition or healthy nutrition was, you know what foods are good and you know what foods are bad. Just do the good stuff more than the bad stuff. Good to go. How the hell do we know that anymore? Because now we get packaged foods, we get something with a box on it, and it's got all these little fancy logos on there that says GMO-free and gluten-free and vegan-friendly, and you're like, ooh, that must be healthy.
Well,
and you look at the back, and it's all over the shop.
When I was younger, I didn't really understand what gluten was, so I went on a gluten-free diet because I thought it'd help me lose weight. Like, but I had no idea. I thought gluten...
It's like a protein enzyme, right?
Like, what? I don't understand. But yeah, like you said, you can have a croissant every day. And also, one thing I love about calorie counting, which helped me, this doesn't work for everyone, so I will caveat that. But for me, like you said, I could have a McDonald's and I could fit it in. Suddenly, McDonald's wasn't the enemy. It wasn't a bad food. And
100%.
You mentioned this earlier. The labelling of good and bad food was probably a game changer when I realised it was bollocks. Because if you put bad food, 100%. I'm doing in quotation marks in case anyone cannot hear the sarcasm in my voice. If you put takeaways on a pedestal or wine on a pedestal or chocolate on a pedestal, that's what you're going to bloody think about. It's like a drug. So you're going to get to the weekend, you're going to go OTT, you're going to feel bad, you're going to binge, and you're going to be in a binge like cycle. Whereas if you're like, do you know what, it's a Tuesday, I fancy a chicken burger. Cool, I'll have it. Yeah. Right, I might not have pudding tonight, or I might have a reduced breakfast tomorrow just to balance it out. Cool, done. It's no biggie.
But that's why. But often the argument against the calorie counting is that, oh, the nutritional content of food really matters, and it's not just a numbers game and blah blah blah. Like, everyone can use their common sense and understand that as people who are into fitness, what we're not saying is that eat McDonald's 3 times a day every day and that's a really fantastic healthy lifestyle. But what I'm saying, and there are people who have disagreed with me on this at Burn It, and I'm like, you've never been overweight before, have you? That's quite clear, because like, when it comes to losing weight, see the expert as someone that has lost a huge amount of weight and managed to keep it off. Like, literally, if you haven't been through that, like, everything you're talking about is only theoretical. Now, am I the healthiest person on planet Earth? No. Have I lost a huge amount of weight sustainably, healthily, and managed to keep it off in a way that other people haven't? Yes, I have. So
but also a question.
You can eat McDonald's, like, you can eat McDonald's 3 times a day and lose weight if the numbers are right. Don't get me wrong. Will you probably one day get cancer pretty soon? Yes, you will. Will your arteries probably at one point get clogged up? Yes, they will. Blah, 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 blah. In the same way that, you know, if you smoke, it suppresses your appetite. Does smoking help you lose weight? Arguably, there's probably studies where, yes, smoking helps you lose weight. Like, again, I've been through it. But it literally is a numbers game. Like, track your calories, and even if you're eating shit for 3 meals a day, if your calories are right, you will lose weight. You literally will lose weight. Obviously, try and do the 80-20 healthy, unhealthy. Don't get us wrong. But that calorie tracking is such a good tool.
Yeah.
And when you realise there's 150 calories in a banana, and actually, yeah, of course, eat the banana, it's healthy, whatever. But if you're making that smoothie every morning with all these different fruits that are great, actually tracking those calories and realising that smoothie has 1,500 calories in it is probably an important thing to realise if you're wondering why you can't lose weight.
Do you know what? I said...
Also...
Go on.
Go on, Lexie.
Oh, I was going to say, I said this on the webinar, and you know when you say something and you're like, shouldn't have said that. We were doing...
and it just doesn't land.
I know.
Very
it landed very well, actually. You'll see why. But
oh, great.
We were doing, like, are you aware of what calories are in things? And one of them was a banana. One of them was a glass of Prosecco. Like you said, most calories are probably around 100, 120 calories. And then I was like, but a glass of Prosecco's got like 90 calories. I know which one I'd rather have. Now, the thing is, of course, you're not having a glass of Prosecco every day. But on a Saturday, let me give up my fruit snack so I can have a glass of Prosecco in the evening.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Good place to start. And definitely good to note that obviously, you know, your activity level, your physical activity level it matters. And for people who, you know, if they're a swimmer, they're going to consume a ton of calories. The one thing to note with that, there's a lot of swimmers and a lot of athletes that go from eating everything because food is fuel and they need to just get it in their body so that they can perform. It's very difficult for them sometimes to transition back to a regular lifestyle balance where they're not training 4 hours of every day. And that's where people can, you know, come into some problems. And obviously, you know, if they don't have the knowledge, that's when they go and see a nutritionist. Absolutely a really good place to start. And like you said, Rach, you know, counting calories for a lot of people is an extra chore, right? You have to open up the app, you have to set it all up and put everything in. But as an educational tool, game changer.
But it's like with anything, like eventually it just becomes something that you do in your day. Like, let's say you've worn glasses for your whole life and then you decide like you now want to wear contact lenses. Like, you just do it because that's something that you've decided to do. And is it more time consuming? Yes, it is. But it's like with anything, like, it takes time, but it just becomes like part of your life. But Lexie, I was just wondering, obviously it's colder, we're leading up to Christmas, all of that stuff. I'm encountering a lot of people who, first and foremost, they're struggling with their training, which is a whole new issue, and the consistency of that. But I guess for people who are like, look, we're nearly in November now, like, I'll start in January 2023, new year, new me.
You're killing me.
What's your advice for people who, and also, like, for me, I think in terms of your services and everything that we offer, like, it is 100% money well spent and everyone should go for it. However, there will be some people that are making cutbacks, cost of living, blah, blah, can't afford that. Do you have any top tips of next 3 months, like before that new year starts, like, should we just sit back and chill? I already know the answer, but I want to know, what's your advice? Like, what are we supposed to do?
Okay, so first thing is, this new year, new me bollocks kills my soul every year because it happens.
I always just feel chronically depressed on January
It's
the
New
1st.
Year, same
like
you,
my
but better.
mental health is so bad.
My thing is as humans, I know me, if I don't want to do something, I put an excuse on it. I'll start on Monday. I won't go to the gym until Wednesday. Blah, 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 blah. Excuse. Now, get over that. If you think about it, yes, December is a really difficult time to lose weight. It's also a really easy time to put on weight. So why don't you like look at it a different way? So November, maybe let's focus, try and lose a little bit of fat. December, maybe look at maintaining. You could be in a way better position. You don't need to focus on losing weight. If it happens great. But actually, I know me, looking at my diary already, Jesus, the amount of 3-course meals and drinks that are coming my way are unreal. But, you know, if you think about, let's say you've got a few drinks and a big 3-course meal one week, that's only 1 meal and 3 evenings. You still have, like, my maths is terrible, but let me just say 20 meals left of that week. Get those on point.
100%.
Like, do, as I said earlier, be consistent. The majority of the time, do good. Like, make good decisions and eat healthier, knowing full well that you've got some drinks and you've got that 3-course meal coming. So that would be the first thing. Don't put too much of an expectation for December. But even if you start on like the habits, so getting good night's sleep, probably the one that I never listen to is kind of put phones and screens away a week, like not a week, an hour before going to bed. Just getting into good routines and habits, you know, getting up in the morning, right, okay, I actually just did a post about this, I'm going to post it tomorrow. But it's like you have the decision at 7 o'clock in the morning, do you sleep for an hour or do you get up and go for a walk? Do you do some yoga? Do you do an exercise class? I mean, there's decisions to be made, and even doing that and then going out for dinner with a 3-course meal, not having the attitude of, fuck it, I'm ruining it anyway. No, let's start the day really well. Let's have a really great breakfast. Let's not restrict lunch. Let's enjoy dinner and start back to normal routine on Thursday. So I think by the time January comes, that's set in stone, routine's set. Because the thing is, it's hard. It's going to get dark soon. You can't go for walks after 4 o'clock. I mean, I wouldn't anyway. Safety and all that jazz.
Again, the joys of being a woman.
Yeah, I know.
You have to start factoring that in.
Know,
like,
but it's
do
true.
I want to die or get attacked?
Exactly. And it's hard because suddenly you don't want to exercise in the morning because it's dark and it's cold. But, you know, if you can try and make that a habit and routine, it will feel weird if you don't do it. So I think consistency over perfection is good. I think the other thing, like you said, cost-wise, things are so expensive. Bulk buy and then prep loads of food and shove it in the freezer. You know, if you are busy, grabbing that pasta bake that was in the freezer, done. Like, you don't need to rely on takeaways, which are again more expensive. So I think any prep you can do on those free moments. I mean, I know me, a pasta bake takes about half an hour to make and it's done, 4 portions. So I think that's a good cost.
Feel amazing, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
You always feel good after it.
Exactly. Or on my new favourite thing, my air fryer. Plug if you don't have an air fryer, buy one. I can put...
I'm thinking about
do it.
Yeah.
It's honestly, Ray, it changed my life.
Yeah,
I'm having
you can make
sprouts
such
in this,
tasty things.
No, it's amazing.
Sprouts and carrot chips and everything.
Great.
Carrot fries. Delish.
But the thing is, you could buy a whole chicken for like £3.50, shove it in your air fryer for an hour, you've got 4 meals. Literally, medium-sized chicken. Literally fits
I love
in
how
mine.
you're saying to the only vegan here, buy a full chicken and chuck it in your air fryer.
I'll give it a go, you know, I'll just give it to Finn and go. It's all good.
Jeff looks tempted. He's tempted.
Or I can get the chick ain't thing,
exactly.
the rubbish that vegans are trying to promote. Like vegans on Instagram, and it's like, oh, we're going to have popcorn chicken today, or popcorn chick ain't. It's not chicken, mate.
No,
Stop
it
calling
doesn't
it chicken.
taste like
cauliflower.
Stop it. It's doing my head in.
But yeah, I think
Get
anything like that, even tofu, it's not that expensive when you cut it up, prep it, and have it for a few meals. And I've done some really good tofu also in the air fryer. But
yes,
yeah, there's so many things you can do. But I think my key things, if you can't afford a nutritionist, count calories for a bit to understand where you're kind of overeating. Get a good routine in. If you don't enjoy exercise, do your steps. But I presume if you're listening to this, you do enjoy exercise, so that's brilliant. And just get organised. That is, it's just that simple, unfortunately. And it's just doing it.
I love it.
It's not glamorous, is it?
No, it's not, and it's boring.
Monday.
But get a good podcast. Listen to us,
Yeah.
get a good podcast, and go for a walk at lunchtime. Done deal. Have your brolly, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sick.
I think that's
Amazing.
we've been going. I mean, 20 minutes. That's gone now. Isn't it? Let's be
I
fair.
mean,
Over an hour.
on an
mate.
hour.
Team series.
Over an hour.
The team series doesn't
My
matter.
phone says 1 hour 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're good. We're good.
Sorry,
I think
guys.
we can.
But there's 3 of us, so that's each person doing 20 minutes.
There you go.
So
True.
it's fine.
The other day, I did a podcast with Leonie, and it was awesome. And at the end of it, we did like a quick fire round, and it was just a bit of fun just to get to know it. Did you listen to that one yet?
I've listened to
I
it.
haven't
Lexie,
yet.
have you
It's
heard
on
that?
my to-do. I'm going for a walk after
Good.
this.
That
And then
means that
I've
I've got the
done-
same
Have you heard
questions
that,
here.
Leonie? She hasn't listened to it yet.
I've got the
Sorry,
same set of
Leonie.
questions because I just didn't get around to making new questions.
Okay,
So I'm going to ask you the
go.
same
Awesome.
ones. So, quick as you can. Peanut butter, crunchy or smooth?
Smooth.
Lexie?
Smooth.
I
Smooth.
didn't catch
Smooth.
it.
Smooth. Oh, yeah,
Smooth.
smooth. Okay. If you had
Correct
one,
answer.
if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, travel. I'd like to hop around different countries.
Love it. And where would you go first?
Thailand.
Oh, nice. Good, good. If you had to take one piece of, like one gym equipment, one item to a desert island with you forever, what would it be?
One
why?
dumbbell. You can do
Same.
so much with one dumbbell.
Same.
Yeah.
So much.
Done. Easy.
What is your favourite exercise to do?
Hit. Sorry. Love hit.
Yeah. She does love hit.
I love hit.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I'm
Any
changing
specific
it up.
exercise?
Tabata.
Any like, to like any specific like movement?
Love burpees.
I love burpees too.
See, she's
We're
going to
the
be
only
a great
two, high five.
trainer. She needs to come to Burn It and start training the people.
Oh, I love burpees. Devil's
I
press,
come
all of
to
it. Bring
Rach.
it.
I come to Rach for my weights, and I'll teach her some burpees.
Rach, you're so well conditioned now. I see. So I think burpees are on the list. Like you're crushing it, mate.
I'm getting there.
Smashing it. What's your least favourite gym movement ever?
Oh, either jump lunges or jump squats. Hate both. Oh wait! Oh my god! No! Split squats. I'm sorry. How can I forget? I hate split squats.
are great.
Yeah.
No, awful.
So good.
They're pretty awful.
Cheat meal. What is it? What's your favourite cheat meal?
I don't like the term cheat meal. Actually, Jeff.
Yeah.
Same. That was a test and you passed it. Congrats.
Do you know what I love? So I love the Gastro M&S chicken Kiev and their triple cooked chips, and then I want cookie dough. You know, the soft one with some ice cream. And a really good bottle of rosé white or prosecco. Done.
Love it. Rach, what's yours? What do you like? What's your kind of go-to?
Cheat meal.
Yeah, treat.
Less nutritious meal, please, Rachel.
Yes, less nutritious, yeah.
A Chinese takeaway, basic. But I'm not really a sweet person, so I'd rather just eat loads and loads of crisps and dip before the meal and then not bother about dessert. And I don't drink alcohol,
That's
so
my
it's always a Diet
starter.
Coke.
Sour cream and chive dip and crisps. There we go.
Yeah, any
I
crisps
snack on
of any
lentil
kind.
chips. I do as a vegan. Lentil chips only.
Oh, Jeff.
I tell you what, there's some delicious things out there, mate. Honestly.
Oh, I
No, there is. There's some great vegan snacks, to be fair. I'm all for the vegan.
I can't wait
when I
for
come to London, I
veganuary.
can't wait to come again. Vegan, I'm going to be all over that on the socials. There's a place called Honest Burger in Greenwich, right?
Yeah.
Gareth and I
So
go
good.
there after every Intensity launch. Love it. So good.
There, you
That's
wouldn't
the only
know.
time I ever have the this isn't bacon thing.
Yeah.
That's the only time I ever have it. It's delicious.
It's I sometimes pick that over the burger. It's really good. The meat-free
I always
burger.
go for a vegan burger.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, Rachel went vegan for a long time. I don't know whether it was before you were with
I
Burn It
was,
or
but
not.
I've heard.
Okay. She was all over it. I was so proud of her.
I lost loads of weight. I didn't restrict at all, and I lost loads of weight. I learned a lot of good things being vegan.
Chloe still asks. She asked like 2 weeks ago. She was like, "So why did Rachel stop being vegan then? Can you answer that question?" Because I don't even know. actually.
A few different things. So I was using it as like an excuse of like I'm being healthy because I am vegan, but I was quite an unhealthy vegan. I also had some IBS issues where I had to have some tests to see if it was anything more sinister. And the doctor was like, please don't cut out any food groups at the moment. So I wanted to, before I did that, like just have like a normal diet, but I was back to my usual unhealthy junk food self, which I'm trying to rein in a little bit now. I'm an endurance sport
Athlete.
girl, so
you are an athlete.
excuse me. Yeah, but now I'm all about the carbs.
You love it. Give me the pasta.
So good, so good. This has been an absolute pleasure. I've
Oh,
learned
it's
so
been
much.
so much fun.
I've revisited a past that I had forgotten about.
thanks.
This was like therapy.
Thanks for sharing, Jeff.
I might have been shredded, but I was very unhealthy. Couldn't stand up. I think we'll leave it there. That was awesome.
Cool.
Lexie, thank you so much for joining us. And
I know, it's
we
great
need
fun.
you back on this podcast.
Thanks, girl. It was a pleasure.
We'll do something more specific next time. But I feel like we know you better now.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Peace.
So much.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.